Has your bird ever flown straight to you the moment something startled them? Or pressed their whole body against your hand while you were barely even paying attention? You probably thought they were just being friendly. But friendliness and choosing are completely different things, and most bird owners have never learned to tell them apart. If you're missing the difference, you're missing the clearest signals your bird knows how to send. And some of those signals have been happening for years. We're going through 7 of them today, and honestly, a couple of them, especially the one about what your bird does with their feathers, and the one that happens when you're not even in their line of sight, are going to completely change the way you see your bird. Let's start with the one most people notice every single day and completely misunderstand. 1, they grind their beak right before falling asleep near you. Have you ever been sitting quietly with your bird and heard a soft, rhythmic clicking or grinding sound coming from them, like they're carefully working something tiny between their upper and lower beak, over and over? Most people assume it means the bird is hungry, or that something might be wrong. A lot of owners get up to check the food bowl. Some worry about it for weeks. But here's what's really happening. That low, repetitive rasping sound, beak grinding, is one of the most reliable signs of deep contentment a bird can show. And it almost exclusively happens in one specific context: when a bird feels completely safe and is drifting towards sleep. Birds are prey animals at their core. The moment they lose consciousness, every instinct they carry makes them vulnerable. Sleep is never casual for them. It requires an absolute assessment that the environment is secure. When your bird grinds their beak in your presence, they've made that assessment, and you passed. Avian behavioral research consistently identifies beak grinding as a relaxation and comfort signal, appearing specifically when a bird's perceived threat level has dropped to near zero. It's observed across parrot species and is considered one of the clearest indicators that a bird feels genuinely at ease in their immediate environment. Researchers and avian vets regard it as a reliable window into the bird's emotional state. Not a quirk, not a digestive reflex, but a signal. That soft clicking isn't hunger. It isn't discomfort. It's your bird's body announcing that you are safe enough to fall asleep next to. And later in this video, I'll tell you about one more sign, one that only shows itself in a moment of genuine fear, that reveals something even deeper than this. Stay with me on that one. 2, they regurgitate food for you and mean it as the highest compliment they know. Has your bird ever bobbed their head in a slow, deliberate pumping motion while looking right at you, and then offered a small amount of food, or tried to press their beak toward yours? Most people are quietly horrified. They pull back, they laugh uncomfortably, they wonder if the bird is sick. But here's what most people don't realize. Deliberate regurgitation, calm, head bobbing, intentional regurgitation is how bonded birds feed the individuals they love most. In the wild, mated pairs feed each other this way. Parent birds feed their chicks this way. It is the most intimate physical act in a bird's social vocabulary, reserved exclusively for the individuals a bird places at the very center of their world. And your bird aimed it at you. It's worth knowing the difference between this and vomiting, which is involuntary. A sick bird shakes their head and appears distressed. What we're talking about here is slow, purposeful, eyes soft, oriented toward you offering. 2 completely different things. This behavior is called allofeeding, and it's documented across hundreds of bird species as a core pair bonding behavior. Studies on parrots and related species consistently show it appearing between individuals with the strongest social attachment, not between casual flockmates, but between partners. Research into avian bonding chemistry suggests that behaviors like allofeeding activate the same neurological pathways associated with deep social attachment, though scientists are still mapping exactly how this works in birds. That slow bobbing head and offered food isn't an accident, and it isn't illness. It's your bird telling you, in the oldest language birds have, "You are the one I would feed before myself." That's not something to laugh off. That's devotion in its most ancient form. And hey, if this is changing the way you see your bird right now, hit that like button and subscribe. That's how we get these videos to more bird owners who want to understand what their bird has been trying to tell them all along. 3. They flock call to find you. Have you ever left the room and immediately heard your bird call out, and then watched them go quiet the moment you called back? Most people think it's separation anxiety, or that they've accidentally trained a noisy habit they now have to manage and correct. But here's what's really happening. That call is a contact call, one of the most fundamental behaviors in any social bird's life. In the wild, birds in a flock use these calls constantly, just to track where everyone is. Every individual listens for the voices of the birds they consider their flock. And when your bird calls and you answer, even just saying their name, even just calling back from the kitchen, you are participating in a communication ritual that keeps a flock together. Your bird isn't calling into the void. They're calling for you, specifically. And here's where it gets even more significant. Some research suggests that bonded parrots in captivity gradually adjust their calls over time to acoustically match their preferred human companion, essentially developing a shared vocal signature with the person they've chosen. Researcher Carl Berg's work on wild parrot populations documented that individual birds carry distinct contact call signatures, and that bonded individuals use these to locate each other across distance. This work, along with broader research into parrot vocal behavior, supports the idea that contact calling isn't random noise. It's a targeted, relationship-specific behavior. A single call across a room carries the entire weight of an instinct that has kept flocks alive for millions of years. That call isn't neediness. It isn't noise. It's your bird scanning their world for the one voice that tells them the flock is still whole. And the voice they're scanning for is yours. 4. They preen you, and only you. Has your bird ever picked carefully through your hair, nibbled gently at your eyebrow, or run their beak along your fingers one at a time? Methodical, gentle, almost like they're searching for something? Most people think their bird is just exploring, or checking whether anything is edible. It reads as curiosity, maybe a little obsessive, nothing particularly meaningful. But here's what's really happening. What your bird is doing has a name: allopreening. It's mutual grooming between socially bonded birds, and in the bird world, it is not casual or indiscriminate. Birds only preen individuals they share a genuine bond with. It is directly tied to pair bonding and flock membership across species, from parrots to ravens to songbirds. When your bird works carefully through your hair or along your skin, they are running the exact same behavior they would run for their mate in the wild. They are not confused about what you are. They have simply placed you in the category of individuals worth tending to. Allopreening as a bonding behavior is extensively documented in avian behavioral science, appearing across parrot species and corvids alike. Studies on captive parrots show that allopreening is directed preferentially toward the individual the bird has the strongest social relationship with, not the nearest person, not the most familiar face, but the chosen one. Behavioral research also suggests that the act of grooming a bonded companion has a calming physiological effect on the bird doing the grooming, not just the one receiving it. Your bird isn't picking at you because you're interesting. They're tending to you because you're theirs. That careful beak moving through your hair, that is the bird equivalent of holding your hand. 5. They flatten their feathers the moment you appear. Have you ever noticed your bird shift from looking slightly rounded and puffed to suddenly smooth and sleek? Not because the temperature changed, but specifically at the moment you walked into the room. Most people don't notice it at all. If they do, they assume the bird was cold before and simply warmed up. Feather position reads as background noise. Nobody tells you to watch for it. But here's what most people don't realize. A bird's feathers are one of the most honest emotional displays they have. more accurate in many ways, than any sound they make. Slightly raised feathers can signal that a bird is conserving warmth, or that they're mildly on guard. Tightly sleeked feathers pressed close to the body can signal alarm. But there is a specific middle state, feathers that soften and gently settle when a particular individual enters the space, that behavioral researchers identify as a comfort response. And here's where it gets even more significant. Your bird's nervous system isn't just reacting to the temperature of the room. It's reacting to you. Their whole body has recognized that a specific presence has arrived and downgraded the threat level accordingly. Feather positioning as an emotional and physiological display is foundational to avian ethology. Birds use plumage posture to communicate everything from aggression to submission to ease, and this has been documented across species for decades. Research on prey animal behavior more broadly supports the idea that bonded individuals actively reduce vigilant states in each other's presence, and birds are no exception. That tiny shift in feather position, something you could miss if you blinked, is your bird's entire body saying, "The one I trust just walked in. I can relax now." That's not a small signal. That's a full body declaration. 6. They fall asleep facing away from you. Have you ever had your bird perched close to you, and instead of watching your face, they slowly turned their back and tucked their beak into their feathers? Most people feel a small sting of rejection. The bird turned away. They must be bored or done with the interaction. A lot of owners leave the room in that moment, reading it as indifference. But here's what's really happening. And this is the quiet sign I mentioned earlier that most owners walk right past every single day. In the wild, a bird turning their back on another individual is not dismissal. It is one of the rarest expressions of trust in the entire avian world. Prey animals cannot afford to look away from a potential threat. Turning your back requires an absolute certainty that what's behind you is safe. When your bird rotates on the perch, faces away from you, and relaxes into sleep, they are not tuning you out. They are removing you from the list of things their body needs to monitor, and that is not a neutral thing. That is a classification. You have been moved permanently into the category of safe. Research on vigilance behavior in prey animals consistently shows that resting orientation, the direction a bird or animal faces while sleeping, is a direct measure of perceived threat from nearby individuals. Studies on social bird species suggest that resting orientation toward or away from group mates correlates meaningfully with relationship quality and trust level. Birds, whose survival depends on constant threat assessment, don't point their blind spot at just anyone. That turned back isn't your bird tuning you out. It's your bird trusting you too much to need to watch you. I don't have to see you to know I'm safe. That's how sure I am about you. That's not rejection. That is the quietest, most complete form of trust they know how to show. 7. They fly to you when they're frightened, not away. Have you ever had something startle your bird? A loud noise, something falling, a sudden shadow crossing the window. And instead of flying to the farthest perch in the room, they flew straight to you? Most people think their bird panicked and landed on the nearest available surface. They read it as chaos, not communication. They don't see it as a decision. But here's what's really happening. And this is what I promised you at the very beginning. When a bird is frightened, every instinct they carry says one thing: escape. Birds are built for flight in the most literal sense. Hollow bones, powerful wings, a nervous system that can go from calm to full alarm in under a second. In a genuine fear response, a bird does not move toward threats. They move toward safety. So when your frightened bird bypasses the open air, bypasses the high perch in the corner, bypasses every physical option available, and lands on you, they are not landing on the nearest object. They are landing on the one thing their nervous system has classified as safe. And here's where it gets even deeper. This doesn't happen automatically. It isn't something birds are born with. A bird who flies to you in fear has built that response over time. Through every moment you stayed calm when they were nervous, every moment you didn't reach for them when they needed space, every quiet afternoon when you simply existed near them without asking anything in return. You earned that landing. You didn't just receive it. Research on attachment behavior in social animals consistently shows that bonded companions function as what researchers call a safe haven, meaning their presence actively reduces the fear response, not just emotionally, but physiologically. Studies suggest that the presence of a trusted human handler measurably reduces stress hormone levels in parrots compared to being alone or with a stranger. The science is still developing, but what it keeps pointing toward is something bird owners have felt for a long time: that the bond between a bird and their chosen person is not just behavioral. It runs deeper than that. Earlier, I told you there was one sign that only shows itself in a moment of genuine fear. The one that reveals more than anything else. This is it. Not the beak grinding at the edge of sleep. Not the offered food. Not the careful preening. Though every one of those is real, and every one of them matters. This is the one that can only happen when your bird's body is being completely honest. And in that moment, with every option open to them, every wing beat capable of carrying them somewhere else, they chose you. Your bird didn't bond with you because you feed them or house them. They bonded with you because somewhere across 100 quiet moments, you probably don't even remember, you became the place their fear goes to rest. You are not their owner. You are their safe place in the world.